Here with Jiggy Jag TV and discoveringbands.com. And for everyone watching, if you share this video on my channel and help support the awesome bands I feature. And today I'm here with Deadlight Holiday. How you doing today?
Good. Hey, what's up?
Very well, very well.
Great to have you. And you want to start off and give us a little history about the band and tell us how the band started?
Yeah, it's always a fun thing. Shane.
Yeah, we there was it kind of just started as like an internet, like, I don't want to say joke, but joke almost, where Kyle was creating just random music and just putting it online, like on SoundCloud and stuff. And we were in a different band at that point in time, and I was in the basement watching them spend 4 weeks on one simple recording part, and I just walked upstairs because I was kind of over that. I was like, Kyle, let's write something new. And he was like, well, I have this new internet project called Deadlight Holiday. And I was like, yeah, let's try it. And within 2 or 3 weeks, we had a couple of members, and we're actually like practicing, and it actually snowballed quite quickly as far as the starting up portion of it goes.
Yeah, like we were playing shows before we really had like a whole lot of like finished songs. So like half the time we'd be like, it was literally like Shane on bass, this is singing vocals, our former singer just singing, and then I was playing guitar and running like an iPad that had like different drum loops on it. So it was a pretty interesting like DIY setup for a little bit.
Cool. What got you guys into industrial music to begin with?
It's kind of funny because and growing up in like the Midwest, like everyone kind of just does like the whole like garage band thing. But the idea of having like a drum machine and like samples and all that seemed like to be like the polar opposite of what everyone else was doing. So like it's funny because like even in the beginning we were like the typical like industrial band, like it was more in the realm of like prog rock, you know. But it's funny though because we've always had like industrial elements like the entire time, like whether it's using like a sample pad or using like different like sequenced sections of a song. But yeah, like industrial for me, just like I grew up on bands like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, KMFDM, Cyclone, and they always just put on the best shows, and so like that's kind of just naturally what I personally just like gravitated towards.
Yeah, and likewise, as far as I didn't really realize that I liked industrial music for a very long time until there was one day I was hanging out with Kyle, and he showed me a band called Cyclone, which coincidentally we're pretty good friends with Nero. And nowadays, after working with him for years, after gawking at the stuff that he's released, but he showed me that, and I was just like, "Wow, what is this?"
Yeah.
And I didn't realize there was like an entire like subculture and like sub community that had been growing around it for the past like 35 years, basically, just with drum machines, like, and that goes from everything from like a synth wave and like retro wave stuff, right, all the way up to like the super heavy like cybergoth type industrial, or it's just a bunch of weird electronic noises that are happening, but it's gnarly.
Yeah, and like I think like next to like black metal, like there's something about industrial just has that cool like evil sound, you know. And coming from like us like growing up in like Big Rapids, Michigan, where it's just a very small conservative town where most people are wearing like flannel and stuff, that seems like just to be like the complete like antithesis of everything that we weren't growing up, and so it always just seemed more interesting, you know.
Felt right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when you go to like your friend's basement and they're having like a house show and it's all just like really intense, like hardcore punk being played. It's the same thing where just instantly you're like, oh, this is where I should be and not where we were, you know. But this is a similar kind of vein of thought, you know.
Speaking of Cyclone 9, I've seen them in concert several times, and they're awesome live. You don't know if you want to mosh or dance.
Yeah,
the energy is just amazing.
They're very underrated in my opinion. Like it's like I always wanted to see them transition into like the bigger like venues because they put on the show for it and everything. And then recently too, Tim Skoll just joined them too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you've played with them before, right?
Yeah, and on the world's smallest stage, I don't think there's been a smaller stage than like Tip Top Deluxe in Grand Rapids, and because like if we were kind of surprised they were going to play there in the first place, but like the stage is literally like a corner that's big enough for like not even a 5-piece drum kit, like a 4-piece, if that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but at the same time though, while it might suck for like them as a bigger band, it's awesome for like us as fans to see a band like that in a really small venue because we're like, oh, we're right there. It's more personal though, you know.
Definitely, and you've shared the stage with some other big names, right? Like Comic Christ and September Morning.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we're good friends with Rich and Emily too from September Morning too. Yeah, they're also super cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Then like the one that always kind of like blows my mind personally is the band the Birthday Massacre, because like just growing up they were always just like that one band I really like got into growing up and like owned all their CDs and stuff.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Now you got a new single out, Blood and Body, and you want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like during like lockdown, I had this kind of like dream project I wanted to do where it was just this like agrotech styled like industrial band that I was gonna call Comedy with a K, and it was just gonna be like Shane on drums and me just singing through like a like pitch shifter or something. But I had all these songs written, and I was like, you know, I can either start a new project and do all the posts myself and start from ground one, or I can just kind of retrofit them into Deadlight Holiday. So like Blood and Body was the first song though that was going to release with that project, but I reached out to our producer S.J. Jones, and we basically just kind of collaborated on that song back and forth, and she like did some like arrangements here and there and kind of like threw some ideas at us, and it was a very, very like collaborative approach, and I think that song, like there was never like any problems running into it. Like the most time we spent on it was probably just tracking vocals, but even that was like literally one day of vocals.
And that was just like literally like tracking. Like that's not like the vocal production or anything. It just it all fit together so nicely, like to the point where pretty much every version that Kyle had sent to me, I was like, yes, that sounds good. Yes, this one's better. Yes, this one's even better. Yes, this one's even better. And then when it came time to do the vocals, there was not really very much hiccup. Like it was just kind of Kyle, me sitting there in the studio, and Kyle being like, well, you should attempt to approach it like this. And then it just happened like twice, and like, all right, cool, we got it. And I remember I walked into the control room to listen to it afterwards, and I felt really weird because I was like, I didn't have to spend, you know, hours and hours behind the microphone trying to get the right take, because it just flowed so nicely and it just felt so natural to do that style and that type of music. So it was a very seamless and effortless almost.
Well, because prior to Deadlight, we were in like a deathcore kind of band, so like we kind of like already had the know-how of how to like approach a metal song, but it's funny because like I think like in the past we've always been kind of like a closeted like industrial band of sorts, because like we were playing like more like heavier shoegaze type stuff. But we've always like dressed the part, having like long hair and like black paint and everything, like our foreheads painted, just to really put on the metal image. But this is kind of like our first time just actually going all the way with it though too, and just being like
embracing what all of the other shoegaze and indie bands told us what we were, more or less. We're like, you know what? Fine, we will be the heaviest at this show. Who cares? And then all the other metal bands are like, well, you're not metal.
Yeah, it's funny because in the beginning
we never said we were.
Yeah, like in the beginning we were like too heavy for like the indie crowds, so we never got like really in that pocket. And then with the metalheads, we were always like too prog, you know. And I think now we're finally finding our sound, you know. Like 5 years later,
we've had some people that are kind of close to us that have never really giving us the time of day, and we're kind of like, we kind of laugh about it to ourselves, but we recently have been getting messages from them and noticed that they've been liking a lot more of our stuff recently, and it's kind of like, okay, so we're attracting a certain type of people now. Okay, like this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and luckily that coincides with what we want to do as well.
Yeah,
so it doesn't come across as too disingenuous, you know. But yeah, a lot of our newer songs are more in the vein of like Blood and Body as well. Like stuff spanning from like I guess if you want to call it like new metal type stuff, but with more sampling, like if Slipknot's first album had like a drum machine, something like that.
Well, I mean, Joey Jordison basically is a drum machine. So
more or less, yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, that new metal style's been making a comeback lately, it seems.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's not like not the rag on them, but like the typical like Limp Bizkit kind of new metal. It's more dynamic and even bands like Ghostbane, for example, like, you know, he's bringing a lot of those elements together, and I think he's kind of like just showing like a different aspect of what that can be, and you know, and he's just like one of many bands like that, you know.
I see you guys have been releasing singles lately. You're going to be doing an album anytime soon?
Yeah, actually, that's the debate that I constantly go back and forth with, because like we're the kind of people who like, you know, grew up buying CDs, you know, in the 90s.
Like to listen to the album.
Yeah, you know, and albums like Dark Side of the Moon or like Antichrist Superstar or Hollywood. Yeah, and like we love listening it from start to finish, but that's not necessarily how people today operate, where it's more like Spotify playlist and
streaming services, like
right
here all the time.
And you know, it's one of those things where like if I release an entire album, there might like the first 3 songs always have like the most plays, then like there's like track 7 or 8 that always like doesn't get any love. So it's one of those things where I'm like, do I just release them as singles one at a time so people can like appreciate stuff like individually? But I do plan on, though, compiling all these songs into an album, though. Like, Blood and Body was the planned, like, last single prior to us just really chomping down and, like, finishing our album. But I always go back and forth with that, though, in my head, though, where I'm like, should I just do that? And then, like, after we have, like, 10 singles, then just say, oh, look, here's an album. But that kind of feels like a little, like, of a cop-out or something, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a weird thing.
It's something that we discuss relatively often, where it's like the logistics behind it, as far as like, well, do we want to do something like as far as like as Kyle said, like allow the fans to appreciate like individually, because we understand how music and digital media is consumed nowadays. Or do we want to like do the selfish thing and like release an album so that way like we can listen to it on Spotify and be like, man, that was a good album, sort of thing. So it's kind of, we're always like caught in between that weird little game of pickle.
Yeah, and also with COVID, it kind of sucks because typically what you would do is like for people who aren't releasing music, like typically you release an album, but you have like a planned show or like album release, or preferably a tour, and you do that to kind of back it up, and whether it's just in the act of promotion of your album or trying to sell like physical copies. But with COVID, it's kind of funny because you don't really do that anymore, so it's kind of like, here's our album, hopefully it does well, you know, so something like that. And it's hard to gain traction if you're like us, where you're relatively underground, versus like, you know, a band like for example, like Rob Zombie just dropped his album and it went to like #1, or something like that. Yeah. But he already has a established name and everything, so they can do that, which is awesome for them. But for us, when we release a single, we're kind of just hoping that like the engagement and the algorithms kind of just like us enough, you know, but that kind of stuff.
Well, it's great to hear you're able and willing to adapt with the times and the current situations.
Yeah,
we're facing.
Yeah, and it changes seriously like every year. Like every year, I'm always like, God, we were such idiots last year. Like the way I approached this or that, and the problem is you can't really learn that unless you just hit your head on the bar every step of the way.
you have to fail in order to learn that, like, what you did wrong with this sort of thing. It's not like it's not like a lot of other things where, you know, you can be like taught, because everything is so like situational and like up to individual reaction as far as like the people thing goes, which is what 90% of that stuff is.
Yeah, and we'll get like advice from like other bands we've worked with, and it's all good advice. But the problem is like what works for one band might not work for you at all, you know. And yeah, it's definitely a weird time, because like I think people like to say like, oh, it's like the worst time to be in a band, but at the same time though, like we have access to Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and Amazon. We can sell our music for either free or we can charge money for it. But before, you need a record label.
Yeah, no, it's like right now, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I feel like writing music would have been easier back in the day, because if you listen to like guitar riffs and the things that were, it was simpler music back then, just because there wasn't the need and the drive to push to get more technical and more and more and more like there is now, or with a lot of things nowadays. But with the aspect of oh man, I forgot where I was going with that.
Stoned. You're on drugs. No, I'm kidding.
Only caffeine right now at the moment. Right. That's probably the problem, being completely honest, is I'm not stoned, because I'm trying to be professional for the interview.
That's the problem. You know, if you do drugs off screen, do them on screen too.
Yeah, that's the motto there. Yeah, thanks for that one.
Yeah, but no, it's like the best of times and the worst of times to be in a band. But like overall, though, I think there's more of a positive thing to be gained. Like even if something like Spotify doesn't pay you as much as you wish you got paid, you're still getting something out of the fact that you're able to release your music. Versus like before, it was just like, I hope we can sell like enough cassettes or something, you know, at our show.
40 years ago, it was like a cheap little 4-track tape recorder, and like you gotta go out of your way to make copies with the cassettes and hand them out or sell them or do whatever you got to do. Whereas nowadays, it's like, theoretically, I could be in like a Starbucks or Starbucks cafe with a little tiny MIDI controller and write a #1 hit and put it on Spotify and get 1 million plays. Like theoretically, you can do that nowadays, where you couldn't do that, you know, even 10 years ago, you couldn't do that. So it's like, as Kyle said, like it's objectively like probably one of the better times to be able to be in a band, but there's a lot more like smoke and fog that you have to be able to see through. Yeah. Because there's so much more like oversaturation of, you know, people that like, we all know that like they're not going to do anything, but they're just kind of like flooding the market. Like, and don't get me wrong, like it's cool if they want to do that, but it just creates a little bit more like fog of war for the extremely serious people to see through, and also for like the people that are within the talent agencies or the record companies or whatever. You know, there's a lot more bands for them to sift through nowadays to find something that's actually good. Like, there's a lot more coal to look through before the diamond pops out.
Yeah, and you know, that's actually one aspect too that I think in a weird way though, because there's more noise happening, you know, on the airwaves with music. That's why like stuff like with what you're doing or what like Ken's doing with like Sound of Shadows, where I think it's kind of giving more life to pages like that, because now when people look for new music, they tend to go to like Spotify playlists, or they go to like different blogs or reviews. So it's kind of a trade-off where I think like it's probably helping other areas of the music industry too, by there being more of a saturation as well. So there's that positive side of things as well.
Yeah, the ad companies are doing real good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, advertising stuff. Yeah.
A lot of it's trial and error now and seeing what works. And a lot of times failure can lead to success. Just seeing what works.
No, for real. You know, the other thing too is being in a band. As soon as you make your first like SoundCloud page or back in the day Reverbation, you get emails instantly being like, hey, I can make your single #1 or this or that, and the big thing now is like people trying to scam you into getting into Spotify playlists and stuff like that, where
$5 I can get you to 35 million listeners.
Yeah, no, and you're like, that's kind of tempting.
You're like, oh, that's something. And then, you know, like as even, you know, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, like if I would have seen that, I would have been like, hey Kyle, you should check this out. Like we should look into this. But like nowadays, it's like, you know, because we've made those kind of mistakes in the past, where we're kind of like, hey, we just don't even give it a second thought when you see it nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if we work with some like PR groups too that are like legit and who have worked with like bigger people, but they will get you on like playlists that have like, you know, 30,000 followers like that, but then like your track will get streamed, but then suddenly like you're like, there's no followers. That's kind of weird, you know. And it's like even like professional companies are doing that approach, and in reality, it's no different than what was ever happening back in the day with like payola or like record labels just trying to, like, you know, scam the lower end bands and stuff. But
yeah, to scam the lower end bands to finance the higher end bands. So that, like, the top 2 bands get all of the budget, and then the rest of the 90 little bands don't get anything.
We don't deserve it. Okay, no.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, if people want to find you online, look you up, get your music on social media, how do they do that?
The one that we've been pushing recently for our music is Spotify and Bandcamp. I mean, like, in an era where you can literally like listen to anything for free, whether it's on YouTube or that, you know, we're like, I mean, like I'm more than fine with people just listening to our stuff on Spotify and us getting like a penny every decade. No,
yeah.
But you know, people do still like support us on Bandcamp too, and that means like everything, because like they don't have to buy the music, you know, but they do it because they like it and they want to support you as a musician.
That honestly feels better than like having, you know, like one person pay like 99 cents for a song, or like $1, or like
$6.66.
Yeah, like whatever it might be. Like it feels a lot better getting that, like knowing that like one person like liked it so much and wants to like have it so much that they actually go out of their way to like purchase it. That means more than any 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 plays on Spotify, because it's just like those people, like, yeah, I'm sure they liked it. I'm sure that, you know, there's probably, you know, like more than a handful of people that listen to that song, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, times.
Right.
But the fact that that one person liked it that much that they bought it and downloaded it to their phone, like that's pretty meaningful, especially as Kyle said, nowadays where you can get and do everything for free, literally.
Right. And to the other half question too, like then the other one too is we tend to post more often than not on like Instagram, and then but then like that's like tethered like Facebook and Twitter and all that, but Instagram is like usually our best bet.
Cool. And I want to ask, how did you guys come up with the band name Deadlight Holiday?
It's actually a reference to the song "Holiday" by the Birthday Massacre. Like the first 2 words in the chorus are 3 words, I guess, as a Deadlight Holiday. You know, so like it kind of just stuck. And also too, like I always just really liked that album of Violet from them, where it's like this really interesting like industrial shoegaze kind of sound, and I always wanted to like do something in that vein, but kind of like just push it a little further in like the industrial aspect of it, because like that album has songs like Play Dead and Holiday and Blue, and
they're all so good.
Yeah, and every time I listen to them, I always just zone out, and I'm always like, God, I love this. And so I kind of like modeled at least initially the band around like that album in a way. But since then, we've kind of just like been trying to get more into like the heavier side of things. But the name though came like just straight out of that song, which is cool.
Awesome. I want to ask, what do you guys have coming up in the near future?
The main thing is we have Upheaval Festival, which is like our first show coming back from COVID, because like our last show was like last year in like March or February. But Upheaval Festival, we're opening for Korn and Disturbed, and Avatar is gonna be there. You know, just like a bunch of different bands, and we're super excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty big and wild show. It's kind of it's minorly nerve-wracking just because of the like it was like if we were still, you know, playing shows, if COVID never happened, and, you know, like we had the show coming up, and, you know, they'd be like, yeah, like, but the fact of like oh, this is our first introduction to the world after being off for a year and a half. It's like,
yeah, and we've like changed
okay,
our
big boys.
yeah,
we're playing with the big boys now.
Yeah, and we like really overhauled our sound and like our instruments and our approach to it. You know,
like even like instrument switching. Like there's
there's like
added,
new members,
like new instruments. Like I'm like I don't play guitar anymore for it. Like all I do is do the singy boy thing. So. It's kind of it's good. It's really interesting, and it's always really really fun because we've always surrounded ourselves with musicians that are better than us in a lot of different ways. So we can all like adapt very very easily to different things, which makes it really really interesting because you know like. I personally have played like every instrument in the band besides lead guitar, what Kyle does, just because he's been the person.
He even played drums one time for a show, and I had to sing, and that was that was nerve-wracking too.
Yeah, and so it's always fun though. I gotta admit to have that type of pressure and stress because that I think is like what really drives Kyle and myself to like. Be better than what we expected to be because like there's so much riding on it that we put so much effort into it that there's no way that it can fail. Yeah, so it makes it really interesting, really nerve-wracking, extremely stressful, but at the same time it's like it makes the ADHD side of your brain just like yes let's go
Yeah, no, it's like one of the worst things you can do as far as being a like local musician is settling for like complacency. Whether it's with like how good you are at guitar, like even if you're a pro, you know, you always gotta be trying to do something new out of it. And upheaval for us is a pretty big deal because we've never played to a crowd that big. Like we played at festivals in the past, but
pretty big crowds, but nothing like that's anticipated to be.
And also too, usually those festivals are like not in our hometown. So like the fact that in Grand Rapids where our friends and family and everything can see us, it's like cool. Yeah.
It's like all right, it's like woohoo.
Yeah. No, it definitely raises the bar. Then after that, though, we're mostly just we're gonna try and finish up our album or our string of singles, you know, as our indecisiveness goes.
Stringles.
Yeah, stringles. Yeah, something like that. Well, like our new album though should have about 12 songs on it, and we're working with our producer S.J. Johns on it too, and she's awesome to work with, and she doesn't let us settle for our normal old habit way of things.
No,
you know?
She definitely doesn't let us slack, and I gotta admit, like
she calls us out anytime there's like a bad guitar track. She's like, "Hey guys,
what was that?"
Yeah, like one time I set her over some of our guitar stems, and she calls us up. She's like within a minute, I'm like, and it was like having your mom being like, "Listen, I know you can do better." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
Oh yeah,
she's awesome though.
Yeah, she has pushed us to such like I know it's kind of like a little bit off topic, but it's kind of like going on an SJ moment here. But like, she has genuinely like pushed us so far as musicians and as far as what we're capable of is like to the point where every time that she sends like an idea back for something to do vocally, I'm like I look at Kyle and I'm like I don't know how in the hell I'm going to do that. Like
we're not that good. You know,
it's like SJ, like you realize like you're giving us things that are better than us, right? So like it ends up, you know, going in the studio and just trying to find workarounds. But because of that, it's developing an extremely unique style, and she definitely has a big hand in that. So. Like, definitely props to her on that one.
Yeah, I'll send her a song and it'd be like complete like arrangements with like guitars, Evos, drums, bass, and like Shane singing.
Like complete song.
And she'll kind of just throw an idea at us. She's like, "What if it was more like Linkin Park or a little bit more like Three Teeth or something like that?" And we're like yeah, I don't know what that means, but let's do it. You know,
and next thing you know,
that lateral thinking.
Next thing you know, we get the same song back. Instead of guitars, there's synthesizers, and instead of like a bass guitar, there's heavy bass arpeggiation. Instead of like a normal drum beat, there's
and her and I are always going back and forth with stuff, and she'll be like, "Hey, play something like this," and then I'll like use like my synth or something like that, and then like. But it's funny because like by the time we're done with it, it's like a completely different song, but it's a better, more it's a better representation of what I wanted to do initially, which is something that I didn't really know that like producers could like do, because like I always thought it was more like, oh, they kind of just overhaul your song and it's done. And at the very least, working with SJ, that was very like collaborative and like, yeah, it's like having your manager in the room or something like that. Just be like, hey, let's keep doing this, work on this area. That bridge sucks, so let's just kind of figure out something else, you know. And the best part about it is like, you know, besides all the music help that she has, like, she's genuinely like a cool person and a cool friend. Like, she'll text us like 4 in the morning and be like, dude, just heard the song, dude, love it, like all caps and like 50 exclamation points, and I'm like, SJ, you're so cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. Cool. I look forward to what you guys have coming up in the future, and it was good talking with you. And everybody look them up.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Deadlight Holiday, woohoo!
And for everyone watching, I've linked their music in the video description, so check that out.